Hi everyone! This morning I'm going to make myself some cinnamon rolls. I just love them. Delicious. So if you want to join in with me and make yourself some delicious morning tea, follow along. So we're going to start off with some flour. We've got 2 cups of flour. So just pop in half of that, or around about half, into your bowl there. And then we're going to add the other ingredients into the mix as well. So we have got 2 teaspoons of shore-baked yeast. We have got 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of sugar, 2 tablespoons of warm water, half a cup of milk, and 25 grams of melted butter. So we're just going to mix that all together, get that dough starting to do its thing. So there we go, we've mixed those ingredients together, looking good. And we're going to leave that in a warm place for 15 minutes just to get that yeast starting to work. And we're going to ask Mike a few questions along the way, see if he's got some hot tips for us again with our baking. Alright, see you in 15 minutes.
A few minutes later.
So I wonder what's happened to our dough in 15 minutes. Let's have a look. Doesn't really look much different, to be honest. We'll have to ask Mike about that.
It helps the flour to do its job.
Right, we're going to add in the rest of the flour into that. That goes in there. So now that's 2 cups of flour have gone into the mix. And then we're just going to mix this all up together and start to knead the dough. Those are going to be our next step. I think that's ready to tip out and start to knead.
Don't be a clown. Wash your hands.
So we're just going to pop a little bit of flour onto here so it doesn't stick on the table. And a good idea to have a little bit of flour on our hands so we don't end up with dough stuck all over our fingers. Lock that down there. Start kneading that dough. Now I wonder what the purpose of kneading is. Well, what does that actually do? Why can't we just mix it together and then it's done? What does the kneading do? That's a good question for Mike, isn't it? Look at that, that dough is looking so good now. Ready to rest. So we're going to pop this lovely dough into a bowl. And we're just going to put a little bit of oil around the edge of the bowl just to stop the dough sticking onto that. And I'd like to make a nice little ball here. So we're just going to grab our bowl, put a little bit of oil in there, stop it sticking to the sides, just spread that around. And then we pop our beautiful bread dough into the bowl and we're going to leave that in a warm place for 30 to 45 minutes for it to rise. Pop that in there. We're just going to put a tea towel over the top or maybe some cling wrap over the top of that just to keep it nice and warm. And we'll check back on it in 40 minutes.
A few minutes later.
And there we go. So we're just going to give this a quick little knead. Nothing too much, just give it a little knead in the bowl. Still got a bit of oil in there. Maybe for just about 1 minute. Oh, that is looking nice and kneaded. So we're going to need to roll this out now. Now, how are we going to stop it sticking to the table? I bet Mike knows how to do that. I reckon maybe some flour. We'll check in and see. But we don't want that sticking to the bench or the table, so I'm just going to put a little bit of flour down. Stop that happening. not too much. Now I don't actually know where my rolling pin is, so I've come up with this great little idea here. Bit of wine, help get through lockdown. Just pop a bit of Glad wrap around the outside of that. Something round, it doesn't matter what it is. I think the main thing is something we can roll with and flatten out our dough. And I put a bit of Glad wrap on there because I didn't really want to have to clean the wine bottle. Still want it to look nice and not put a greasy bottle into the cupboard afterwards. So I'm going to try and roll this out into a sort of a square. Woo, look at that dough stretching. I think the rolling pin would do a better job, but the Pinot Noir is doing all right. Wow, that is looking nice and rolled out. Nice and thin, but not too thin. So we're going to start putting some of the cinnamon and toppings onto here. That's going to get rolled up. So what we've got is half a cup of brown sugar. We have got a teaspoon, or a very generous teaspoon in my case, I love cinnamon, of cinnamon into there. I'm going to give that a little mix up. Cinnamon and sugar. Such a nice combination, isn't it? Now I'm using brown sugar because I love that caramelization that happens with brown sugar. So that's nice. And you can add all sorts of things into this mix as well for that filling. So we're going to put in a little bit of chopped walnuts as well. So I'm going to pop those in there.
But I like to put fruit in mine. Sultanas, raisins, lots of things.
So whatever you want, you can add this onto your scroll dough base at this point. So we need to have something on here that's going to make everything stick. So we're going to put a little bit of melted butter on there. So we're just going to brush that on. We need something that's going to hold it all together. Now this recipe, if you don't want to be bothered with doing the yeast and the bread dough and all of that stuff, because I know it's got a lot of steps, hasn't it? It's not so simple. What you can do is you can just use that basic scone recipe that we made the other day. You can use that recipe, roll it out and put the same ingredients into it. So you can make a cinnamon scroll using a scone dough. That's the really simple way of doing it. Now my gran used to make those. She used to call them Chelsea buns and they were delicious. So I do love those. So if you don't want to do the yeast and the dough thing that we're doing today, then just do the scone dough and then follow on from making the scone dough to this point here. So roll out your scone dough and then you can just add all your toppings and things on here. So now we're going to add our toppings. So we're just going to sprinkle this over so nice and spread out. We don't want any patches with no topping. And you can also use some of those really lovely dark sugars as well, muscovado, that kind of yummy, really rich sugars as well. White sugar, brown sugar, you can mix it up, so just whatever you want as your sweetener there. Or you could add you could use some of those natural sweeteners, a bit of stevia, delicious. Right, it's time for the roly-poly stage. So we're going to grab this edge here and we're just going to start to roll it over on itself. Folding and rolling, taking that in and rolling it over. So we've got a big long sausage. Here we go. And this is where we're going to cut our pieces into 12 pieces or however many scrolls that you want to make. So there we go. And we're going to place those onto our tray. It's probably easiest to put the cut side down that. It's going to sit nice and flat on the tray, like that. So we'll just keep cutting these up. We want them about that thick. Pop them on there, give it a little squish. And there we go, they are looking delicious. So we're going to put a covering of Glad wrap on there, and then we need to leave them to sit in a nice warm place again. So we're going to have to find a nice warm place for them to rise and get a little bit bigger before they go into the oven. So a little bit of Glad wrap on there. And we'll come and check up on these in a little while later.
A few minutes later.
Wow, they look ready to go in the oven, don't they? We'll just pop the oven on to 180 degrees. And we're ready to bake. We're gonna pop those in for 20 to 30 minutes. Wow! So good! I can't wait to eat these.
Oh, Melissa, them look beautiful.
Now, this time, I'm not going to make the mistake I made last time, where I went to make a cup of tea and the scones disappeared. This time, I'm keeping a little hush-hush about these being done. I'm going to find a little quiet corner to enjoy my treat. So good. Yum.
Where's my buns at? No!
To finish off, I want everybody to enjoy what you've baked. Nice bit of butter on them, some strawberry jam, some cream, beautiful. You all keep safe now you're here. I miss you all, and I'll see you when this COVID lockdown is over.